Greetings, I'm Elijah Sunkar 19, and welcome back to the first part of our lesson here with the Major Arcana and overall with the Rider-Waite Tarot deck using the Universal Tarot. Alright, so here we go. Card number 12 is the Hanged Man. And so this person is upside down. They are bound to a tree by their foot. Their hands are behind them somehow. We don't know if their hands are tied up or not. But we see the red pants here. We have the blue and the purple, and we have the yellow around the head. If you notice, this person's head kind of looks like a candle. It's lit, but it's upside down. So this is a sense of enlightenment. This person is voluntarily, we look at, they don't look like they're in distress, and they're sort of placed upside down. Maybe they've climbed up and tied themselves upside down just to sort of get a new view at the world, look at the world differently. So the Hanged Man is often associated with taking a pause, taking a break from things, just sort of looking at things differently, upside down, getting a new view. This is someone who is taking initiative on their own. They're not waiting for other people to solve their problems, and sort of a card where this person is self-initiated and into the process of the journey per se. But the Hangman is also associated with, just taking a break and looking at the world from a new perspective. So flipping things upside down, sort of testing the opposite. So if you believe one thing is true, it's like, well, can the opposite be true? And sort of finding truth in paradox and opposites, and just understanding that there's often some middle ground between two extremes, or two political parties per se, or red and blue. Finding out that the truth is often somewhere in between. All right, here we go. 13. We have the Death card. So one of the more feared card in the tarot decks, and cards in the tarot deck. And so this is a card of death. And so of course, that's one of the scarier aspects of life. This is the white horse of death. So the truth that at some point we were all going to die, regardless of how good or bad we are, or young or old. And that's just the truth of life. So we have a lot of black in this card. So black is a symbol of death. We have the skull, the person, a skull riding a horse. So it's a skeleton per se. So it is a symbol of death. But it's also a symbol of transitions. So death is a literal thing, but it's also a figurative thing. It's a symbolic thing. So it's a symbol of change. It's a symbol of things going through phases and going through the seasons. And so, it's also an equalizer, regardless of where we are in life, if we're rich or poor, or good or bad, or whatever the case may be, at some point we are going to die. So death card is a card of fairness. It's a card of bringing everybody back down to the same level, but it's also a card of transition. So it's a card of changes and moving on in life. A horse is a symbol of movement. It's a symbol of getting things done. It's a symbol of action. So the death card also usually symbolizes the end of one situation, but also being moved on to the next thing. So very, very interesting card to see that, some people sort of plead with it. And sort of this lady is like pleading with the horse, saying, let's not go through this change, but there's things for change here. So we have different levels here. We have a ground level, we have a middle level here, we have upper level. We also have these pillars with the sun. These pillars are going to come back when we look at the moon card. We'll see these same pillars later on, but and then we have a ship with a boat. So we have things that are changing, tides of change, things are moving forward, moving on. And so, those who can adapt to change are able to move on, and those who cannot adapt to change usually get stuck or move, they don't make progress in life. So the death card is a card of change. So the death of a relationship, or death of a job, or death of a transition of a situation or whatever. But the death card is about moving on and taking action and moving on to the next situation. Okay, next with number 14, we have the Temperance card. So now we're back to an angel. And then we have number 15 here is the Devil card. So These cards have a lot of similarities in them. So looking at the Temperance card here on the left, we have the angel with the red wings. Red is a card about being confident in someone's abilities. We have a sun symbol here on the forehead, so this is higher intuition, higher knowledge. We have an aura of the angel here is sort of glowing, and we have a triangle here as a symbol of change. We have water being poured from cup to cup, so it's a very emotional card. So water being a symbol of emotions, and sort of a miracle here between the two cups. We have a crown here in the background, so it's a symbol of the creator or God. And so we have the sun symbol. It's connecting this person to the creator. This angel is connected to the giving of life. We have a path here up the mountain. Mountains are symbols of strength and power. And also we have some plants here growing. Those are symbols of growth. And so the temperance card is typically seen as the balance between opposites or the middle ground in a situation. So temperance in general just means sort of moderation. It's a card, we have the 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on the earth. So sort of balancing between two worlds, balancing between the extremes of situations. So the mountain scene is far away, this is distance, and these are close up. So the angel represents the the the, the balance or the middle between far away and close together. So here with a temperance card is usually a card of moderation, a card of seeking the middle ground and finding the middle ground. The devil card is very similar to the lover's card. We're back to the sort of Adam and Eve and fruit and fire situation. The devil is, probably one of the scariest cards in a tarot deck. Very similar to the Baphomet sort of goat-headed figure. We have the upside-down star, which is also usually, sometimes associated with Satanism. We have the bat wings now instead of angel wings. And so this devil, we got the fire burning and sort of the chains and sort of being locked. So a lot of times this devil card is associated with bondage and being stuck in a situation. So often see this card when it comes to very, very harmful and negative relationships. We see it with alcoholism and drug use or abuse or gambling and any type of just sort of vices that are out of control. So the devil card represents someone who needs to get their vices under control and, wanting to sort of personify their abuse or addiction. So, it's easier, in our minds, easier to personify it into a singular figure and to create an enemy of the devil. So, the alcohol addiction, it's easier to say, well, the devil caused it than to believe that it's really us. So, this card it's sort of a figure, represents where we all could end up if we don't, if we're not totally, aware of our problems and aware of our addictions and where they're heading us. So there's a card of bondage and being bound and being stuck to something and not necessarily having a way out. Okay, here we have number 16, number 17. We have the Tower and the Star. So the Tower card is a card that represents sort of a couple of people who they kind of tried to buy their way to heaven. They wanted to build their way to heaven and be better than everybody else. They built a tower on top of a mountain, and it's sort of secluded, and it sort of was a symbol of royalty. We had the tower or the crown on top, and we had these two figures falling away. So just shows them that they're mightier than thou, or they're high and mighty, sense of just we're better than everybody else. We built this tower, and we're going to stay away from people. We're not going to associate with other people. We're going to be better than people. A sense of arrogance or a sense of money or a sense of just sort of want to be secluded away from people. And eventually that gets knocked away from them by the lightning bolt. So the Tower card is sometimes called the Blasted Tower. So this is another way of saying it. So the crown is knocked off the top of the tower, the inhabitants are now falling back to the earth. So this is about change. This is about things moving. And so what this card represents is a humility and a return back to the roots. You can't really, is what the theme is, you can't buy your way to heaven. You have to do it through actions and deeds, and not through seclusion, or you can't do it through trying to sort of build your way to heaven. You got to do it through the work that you do. Over here with the number 17 card, we have the star card. And so this is sort of the other end of the spectrum from the tower. It's this person is now back down on the earth, feet 1 foot in the water, 1 foot on the earth, just like the temperance card, 2 cups, just like the temperance card. And so this person is very humbled. We have a lot of 8s in this card. We have 8 stars, which have 8 symbols, 8.8 card stars. And so we have a symbol of a bird and a tree here. A lot of green and blues here, mountain scene, sky scene. So the star card is about rebuilding. It's about believing in, this person is believing in themselves, getting back to nature, getting back to the ground, the foundation. So while the tower card was up in the air and it got blasted, they're going back down to earth. The stars now doesn't have any clothing, no crown, nothing. Just sort of return to nature, return to the possibilities, return to the basics. And so it's a great card in terms of healing, in terms of rebuilding, believing in oneself, and reestablishing oneself after some changes or abrupt changes. 8 typically is a symbol of change. It's a symbol of moving on from a period of rest, getting back into action, and rebuilding. Okay, next we have the moon card and the sun card, number 18, number 19. And now we're back to those pillars and those mountains and the moon symbol from the death card, which are in the corner of the death card. So the moon, we have more layers here. We have a crab, we have a dog, and a coyote. We have the water, we have the earth, and we have the air. And so even some flames here from the sunlight on the moon. And so this is typically, the moon card represents a journey of some sort, moving along layers, moving along levels. The moon card also represents things are in fluctuation. So the moon fluctuates between a new moon and a full moon. And so, and the dogs and the coyotes bark at the moon. And so they represent change. And so sometimes the moon goes through cycles. Periods of cycles similar to the Wheel of Fortune card. And so, but it also represents layers and levels. The cycles, you may start one cycle off down here, another cycle may be in this area, and another cycle may be the mountains or in this area. So, sort of upgrading as you go through your cycles and initiations in life. The moon card also indicates that things are fluctuating and that change is happening, and that you should be patient because you're not always sure if things are what they truly seem to be. The moon's light at night could be sort of tricky or illusionary. So sometimes the moon is associated, it's sort of associated with the fluctuating emotions and sort of questioning if things are really real. All right, number 19 is the sun card, and so here we have a sun's face, which is more of a symbol of the creator. It's a very happy, very symbolic card with a white horse of innocence. We have a red flag of victory. We have a naked baby, which is another sign of innocence and mastery and control. This baby is not afraid to be on top of this horse. We have a wall here that represents structure and stability. We have the 4, what are these things called? The sunflowers. And so they represent typically the 4 elements of fire, air, water, and earth. And then we have the sun itself. And so it represents sort of the balance between the male and female energies. The straight lines here are male energy. The female energy is the wavy lines. And it sort of create a balance between the two. The sun is considered the creator. Often in many texts considered to be a gender neutral figure, so representing male and female. We have the baby here. The gender of it is also undecided. we can't see for sure, but it's also a symbol of victory and just sort of happiness overall. So the Sun card is a card of good fortune, victory, happiness, structure, and just sort of just being satisfied with life. A card of innocence as well. Last two here, we have Judgment in the World, number 20 and 21. Judgment card is similar to the judgment scene, or what's considered judgment in the Bible. We have the dead are risen by Archangel Gabriel, similar to the angel in the Lover's card and in Temperance. Similar color symbols. We have a red cross here, a symbol of like sort of the blood and the innocence. The root chakra here with the red, and so it's a card of action. It's a card of a call. So from the judgment cards, sort of the soul, these are sort of perhaps dead figures being called up to heaven. A lot of times I associate this card, the judgment card, with fulfilling your purpose in life. And so you want to get to the final judgment knowing that you've laid your talents out on the line. You've done what you can with life. You've done the best you can so that you can report to your creator and say, hey, I've done my best. I did what I can. So the judgment card I was typically associated with really just laying your talents on the line, being the clarion call, being that you listen to the call of your soul throughout your life, and that you are willing to answer it and do the work necessary to become a better person, to express your talents, to be whoever it is that you're meant to be. We got the layers again. We have water, the ground, the mountains, the earth, and then the spirit realm represented by the angel. So, sort of connecting to higher levels and seeking wisdom from the higher levels, but also about just fulfilling your talents and fulfilling your role in life and just doing the best you can to be the best you can. Last card we have here is the World card. So we're back to the similar figures of the Wheel of Fortune now. Again, the four corners are covered. There's no books here, though. They're just sort of just the heads of the figures, but it's the same figures in the same positions. We have the laurel wreath, which is a symbol of victory. And we have a figure here. It's naked with the purple ribbon, purple being a symbol of royalty and the upper chakras. A card of completion. We have two wands. Now, like we had in the Magician was a single wand. Now we have two wands. So this is sort of the final graduation card. It's the sort of the final victory card. It's the completion, happiness, victory. So the World card is typically a very positive, very emblematic card in a tarot. So it represents the end of a particular cycle, the 21st card here. And now, you've sort of reached the level of mastery in a situation, and the only way to go now is back to zero, back to the Fool card, which would be the card after the World card is the Fool card. In some places, they represent the Fool card is the 22nd card. So it's the beginning and end of the cycle. So the World card is the completion, the victory, the just sort of total sense of happiness and fulfillment in life. Paid your dues, and now you get to enjoy the splendor of it a little bit. So enjoy the peace while you're there, because a new adventure will be soon embarked on. Okay, so the World card, very structured, very similar to the Wheel of Fortune. The elements are represented here. So this would be earth, fire, air, and water, human. So it's just very structured, very elemental, very complete, the World card. And so that was part 2 of the Major Arcana. And so thank you for being a part of this journey with me. And soon we'll take a visit into the Minor Arcana with the 4 suits and the quote cards. I'm Elijah Synchro 19. Thank you for being here with me. Many blessings. Love and light.